All right, thanks for joining us. I'm Guy McPherson here again with psychologist Peter Miller, and we're going to ponder the question, what is your post-death legacy? Many scholars have pondered the concept of love, which presumably, if you had some, that exists as your post-death legacy. But what does that really mean? What does love really mean? What is your post-death legacy? Is there such a thing? Or is this just gobbledygook to get people to think about something that doesn't matter? Peter, you're the
Hmm.
psychologist. Answer that question for us.
Right. I got all the answers right. Oh man. What did that famous philosopher say? What we know is a drop, what we don't know is the ocean. So Isaac Newton.
Right.
So I align with that kind of thinking. And so I'll offer what I can based on what I've learned. So yeah, I mean, what can uh, rephrase the question one more time just so I can grasp onto it.
Well, a couple of questions. What is your post-death legacy?
Okay,
Which
the
is
legacy, yeah.
related to many scholars have pondered the concept of love. What does love really mean? And because if it's meaningful, it lasts until after you're dead, right?
Hmm.
That somebody has feelings about the person that you were when you were alive. If those are strong positive feelings, if that's love, then that's your legacy.
Right. Well, I mean, one of the things I've heard said is that, your kids won't remember all the things that you bought them. But they will remember the things that you taught them that they were helpful and that they could use. I think Bruce Lee said something along those lines. Um, so I mean, I try and embrace that as what can you do to leave a legacy? Because I mean, these are the legacy, I guess, is what gets repeated down the line, right? Stuff that people would say, yeah, my dad said this and it was useful. Like one of the things my dad said to me was very simply, Peter, if you don't have health, then you don't have anything. So he would encourage me in that way to take care of my health because I mean it's true. If I lose my physical abilities, if I lose my mind, I can't do anything really. I can't enjoy anything in life. So
And
that's his
for
legacy.
him,
Yeah.
did that carry over to mental health as well?
Well, I think he was more of the guy that would go to the gym, and he that was his way of
Right.
trying to take care of himself, and he did it very consistently. I admire his consistency. I mean, he would go to the gym several times a week, and I remember one time watching him do sit-ups like on one of those elevated benches, and
Mhm.
he was just sweating. And I was just like, wow. So, I mean, these are the memories that stick in my mind about some of the things that he said that had a big influence and that stick with me now. Like, um, I probably lean more towards the mental health and the physical health just because it's what I probably talk about so much and read about so much, but I think they're equally important.
Mhm.
And if I'm going to be a good steward of my body, I think I should go on a few more walks and lift and ride the bike a little bit more and lift a few more weights. But it's coming, it's happening, just not as much as I should. Anyway, like legacy. So I think it comes down to those good memories that people have from the good experiences with the significant people in their lives that get repeated down the line, perhaps.
Mhm.
And there can be a lot of toxic legacy too that sadly gets transmitted. Um, I think
Right.
people, in many cases, they kind of become carbon copies of their parents. So whatever their parents did for parenting, whatever they did, um, their kids do, because their kids often look at their parents almost like as gods, right? Like even though they could be screwing up all over the place and doing harsh, nasty, abusive things, they carry them on as though they're the right thing to do.
Of course, all we know about parenting is what we learned from our parents, right? That's almost everybody. I mean, very seldom in the public school system in this country does anybody take a course that would have any impact on how to raise a child.
Mhm. Yes,
There's
I mean, yeah,
home
that's
economics courses, but where you learn to cook and clean or whatever. I don't know. I never took one.
yeah. No, it's again another sad. realization that, taking a parenting course is few and far between.
Mhm.
My partner was reading books prior to having babies, which I think is admirable. But we never did attend like seminars or courses to really have a good understanding, and lots of mistakes were made as a result of not knowing anything, just carrying on some of the things that we thought were right because of what we experienced. Um, and that goes hand in hand with mental health,
I
Very
taught it.
chances are good that your parents are not healthy, you know.
I taught in college classrooms for 21 years. Trust me, I recognized a lot of bad parenting going on.
It's a very commonplace, and there lots of unnecessary misery and crisis comes about because of that. And again, you have to ask yourself, why are parents so misinformed, uninformed, unhealthy? Why don't children have the availability of their parents? What are we doing? Um, uh, just to start asking these questions and just ponder for like 3 minutes. Like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? Are we glued to our phones too much? Is there phone addiction? Is this a reality? I think it is. That's part of it. Do we have a self-care plan that would improve our mental state so that we could have better daily encounters with the people around us? Do we even know what healthy parenting is? Have we challenged the viewpoints of our parents, or do we just take it all as like they knew everything they needed to know? I don't know, Guy. Do you think people ask enough questions, or do we just
No,
are we on autopilot?
we're on autopilot, and one of the things that we don't, the most important thing we don't teach in the public school system and every place else is how to be a decent parent. Are you kidding me? That's the most important job you could ever have when you have children is to be a decent parent,
Yeah.
right? How could anything be more important than that? I can't even imagine. But there's no course in
Um,
it.
it's a tremendous responsibility, and I don't think it's supported enough by whatever government policy for people to have enough time to be with their infants in the early stages. I think it's worse in the U.S. than in Canada in that regard.
Of course it is.
Um,
Everything's worse in this country than in every other country. Are you kidding me?
But so, do people have the time? Do they have the information? Do they have the mental health that they need to be stable for their child? A lot of these things are sadly lacking. So I think it's good to point them out. Probably the next thing to do would be to accept that that's the way that it is and try to do a workaround. So again, the workaround is what can I do to enhance my own health? What kind of routines can I get into? Like some of the other things we were talking about, how much can I get myself out into the natural elements and be nurtured from
And take your
exposure
kids with
there?
you.
And
And take your kids with you.
take your kids with you, of course, so they can have the same nourishment. How
But
can
then
I
don't leave them in the woods. Bring them
Right.
back with you too.
Bring them back, right? How can I learn more about healthy interpersonal dynamics and how to create those by getting the health within myself to make that happen? I don't think you can have healthy interpersonal dynamics if you're always getting stuck in misinterpretations and feeling like you're being insulted when you might not be. So, I mean, the more we get caught up in painful emotions, the more we're probably going to be nasty to each
Right,
other.
right.
Um,
And
so I,
we
yeah,
already have that pretty much mastered in this
we have that mastered, and I think we have it mastered because we don't live in a context that prioritizes it. I mean, if it isn't a priority, how is it going to be? Like, why did they get so much priority? Like, like people care about their teeth. Like, it
right.
confuses me. Like, for some reason, we can make that connection. We have to take care of these teeth, or we're going to be in pain and total misery. So we have made that health connection at least. I just find it kind of funny, because people are, and sometimes people aren't even willing to do that. But
Right. But almost nobody is willing to attend to their mental health, and that causes enormous pain for the
right,
individual and for the people around them for the rest
yeah.
of their lives.
And what are people? They will say, "There's no time for it," or, "There's no time for that. I'm too tired. I'm too busy." And it's kind of valid. They probably are working two or three jobs.
Of course.
How are they supposed to take care of their mental health and do exercises and actually learn how to do it if they're so tied up and weighed down with so much other responsibility? Like, how many people are working like the low minimum wage jobs, multiple minimum wage jobs? And
Far too.
how are they supposed to have the time to even just go out and walk in the trees, right?
Right. Right.
Um, I think that's a question we need to ask, and to not kind of say, well, those people did it to themselves. I really don't like that when that's a very far right-wing sentiment to say you made your bed, sleep in it, you did it. Like
Right.
there's nothing about the society that influences or contributes to how people get stuck in these ruts. That's a total lie to say that.
Of course it is. We are a product of our DNA and our personal history, and a lot of that personal history comes to us by way of society. How could it be any other way?
Well, right. And if your parents are making all these accidental errors in the way that they parent you, or they don't have the time and availability to be a parent to you, you're going to grow up with issues that are hard to manage. And then if you're in a society that doesn't highlight how these things happen so that you can be aware of what you don't know, how are you supposed to then take action on it, right? Like, so it's kind of like you grow up sick and blind. You know what I mean? Um, in many cases, probably in maybe in most cases, you grow up sick, not knowing that you're sick, and blind, not knowing what you need to know.
Right.
And
Yes.
then people say you did it to yourself. Like, are you kidding? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Uh, you did it to
Because
yourself. You made your
because
bed.
there's nothing wrong with society, obviously. It's all on you.
You made your bed. Like you can look up Gabor Mate to support what I'm saying here. He will say people don't have a choice.
Mhm.
Even people who are addicted to the worst drugs, they never had a choice because I'll just put it in the way I put it. They grew up sick and blind. So um, they end up in tremendous pain and desperate for relief. What are they supposed to do? Right?
Are you familiar with his son, the journalist?
Oh, he contributed to his recent book, right? The Myth of Normal, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, his son is as good as they get when it comes to journalists.
Sweet.
It's
Hmm.
pretty amazing.
Yeah,
So
yeah. No,
anyway,
I think he's an amazing influencer for the subject that we're talking about.
right,
So I mean, if you were to gravitate to someone who can actually explain things in a really good way, the stuff we're trying to elaborate on here, watch some Gabor Mate videos. You could
Mhm.
even look up Gabor Mate and capitalism. He links the issues of those very well.
Right,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
All right. So let's wrap this up. Why don't you tell us about your free BPD course, and we'll see everybody in another couple of weeks.
Sounds good. And I guess I'd just like to thank Guy for hosting these videos with me because it has increased the signups for the course. We've seen at least since we started having these conversations, I think well over 100 new signups to the course. So people are accessing this information and hopefully learning how to apply it in their lives, or at least it's creating a curiosity so that they could start down the path of learning more about their health and find the teacher that works for them. I mean, not every teacher is going to be the best fit for you. So whether it's a teacher or a therapist, you got to find, the one that you can really sync with. I was really lucky in my life to have a person like that. So, it's like Forrest Gump says when he says, this person can explain things in a way that I understand them. You need to find that person, right? So if I'm that person, I'm happy to be that. It's an honor. And but if I'm not, then find the right one, just be curious and seek it out. But you can start at my course at freebpdcourse.com.
With links to about a million other people and the
Oh,
information.
right. No, no, yeah, there's 119 YouTube videos in there to various other professionals that talk about the subjects that I'm trying to relate. And there's lots of other tools you can use in there, like quizzes and flashcards and stuff like that. And I had some other activities to reinforce the learning. One of them is called chain analysis. So you can learn how to do chain analysis, which basically helps you learn how to link the different events in your life, how things can build up to a crisis crescendo, if you know what I mean.
Hmm.
It's just an awareness building exercise. But yeah, everything that you would need, I think all the basics at least to get a start on conquering borderline are in there.
That's great. So let's wrap this up. This will be our last video for the next couple of weeks. So go back and watch them all. They're relatively short, folks, so you can watch them 6 or 8 times. There you
Sounds
have it.
good.
Thank you again, Peter. I very much appreciate the opportunity to chat with you and to create these videos in the notion that it might actually help somebody along the way.